That for me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, man.
Oh, baby, you too. The XREAL One Pro is finally here. Now bear with me, my studio's in shambles because I'm in the middle of rebuilding it, and I've only had these for a very short while, but I wanted to get this video out for the community because there are so many questions that people are asking. Number one, a couple of disclaimers. I purchased this with my own money. Here is the order that I did up on the screen. This was not sent to me by XREAL. Maybe you saw my video with XREAL. I did just interview head of PR Ralph over on my channel last week, and they did send me the eye, which I will be reviewing, but I cannot talk about that just yet. So they are sending me items. They are not paying me for any of these. They will not see this review. They don't know what I'm going to say in this review. I don't even know what I'm going to say in this review yet because I've had a short amount of time to play with them, and some of this you're going to experience with me firsthand as we go through this. Now, of course, this is the way things work. No, I am not getting paid by them. Yes, I am a YouTuber. Yes, theoretically, I have developed a relationship with them over the last year since I met them at AWE last year. I'll be interviewing them again at AWE this year, and I want that to continue. So take that what you will, take it with a grain of salt. That being said, you can see the other 450 videos I've done. I'm always fair in my videos, and I have experience across a broad swath of technology and have been using my XREAL ones, which I still have the box for the last year or the last several months since they came out on a multiple times a week basis here, and I primarily use it for work. My use case, sorry, that's the pump in my air conditioner. My use case with these, and what I love the most about them, is the ultra-wide view when you have it plugged into a computer for desktop mode. I have a 49-inch ultra-wide Samsung Odyssey monitor. That is my daily driver. That is what my desktop setup looks like, and that is how I generally like to use the glasses as well, because then, as you may have seen in my other videos, I can dim the screen on my laptop, have the whole screen up in space in front of me, totally private, and nobody can see it. I'm very excited to test out the field of view on these, which it is improved from the XREAL ones, and show off some of the changes that have been made here. The biggest thing, obviously, for anybody who's looked at the imagery, is going to be the prisms, and we'll show those off shortly. But let's do a quick unboxing. Now that the disclaimers are out of the way, we can get to the juicy stuff. Opening up the box, you have, of course, the headset, just like always. Now you'll notice the immediate difference from the the XREAL One versus the One Pro. We've gone back to the slanted case as instead of the half broken up case here. So this is the case for the XREAL ones, which opens up that way, and this is the case for the One Pro, which opens up with the lower lip coming down below here so that it more sits out facing you. Honestly, I'm not sure which one I prefer. Also in the box, you've got that come out there. Also in the box, you've got the additional materials here. Looks like the nose pads for large and small. Medium comes on the devices. You have a lenses frame. I'm not going to use that because I don't wear lenses. You have an XREAL polishing cloth and the manual. So I'm going to take all that out now so that you can see what we're dealing with here. These are the lenses, and if you want to swap out the different nose pads there, you've got those. And then in the box here, we have the very nice stamped XREAL cleaning cloth, the One Pro instruction manual complete with complete with QR code in order to learn more and get support. All right, so you've got a tutorial over there which you can scan. You can customize your display and change the angle of the glasses there, display up 3.5 or down -3.5. And then you've got, of course, your safety materials, disclaimers, warranty, all that good jazz. So we're gonna pop that back in there. We'll keep this out because I've already got fingerprints on this, and we're not gonna use any of this stuff for now, so we'll put that away. All right, now back to the case. You've got the case like this, and as I mentioned before, it's got the lip, which is downward facing. It is lower on the box or on the case instead of the ones where it is completely flat across the side. It does look like a smaller pill case than the XREAL ones, so that is appreciated. Now the moment you've all been waiting for. Oh look, I already got a fingerprint on there, taking out the XREAL eye that I was testing. Yes, I'm teasing you all with that, I know. Here it is sitting in the case. I have already taken off the plastic coverings that come on top of it because I've already been using it a little bit to get some testing time in. The only other thing that you have in here is going to be the USB cord, which looks to be exactly the same as the previous generation one. So again, you've got the USB-C with the angle for going into the glasses, and then you've got your regular USB-C for going into the computer. So on these, if you wanted to detach the lenses, you can. This just pops off like that. This is how they look without the lens on there, if you are interested. Not sure if I like them without it or not. We're gonna leave that on for now. All right, gonna clean those off. Here's the big reveal. Let's open them up, take a look. Pay no attention to the reflection in the background. This place is kind of under construction here. So immediately you're going to notice these are more narrow than on the ones. And the other thing immediately you're going to notice is the prisms are flat. They're flat, rectangular. They're a little squircle-ish, rectangular-ish, that's not really a word. Rectangular, circled off at the edges. Now let's get out the XREAL Ones just to show the difference between the two here. These are the ones, these are the One Pros, and you can see a massive difference there from the size of the Pros versus the ones. It is even more striking from the other side. Again, this is the ones and this is the One Pros. You see the big prisms that are in there, and then you see how flat the new prisms are and how all that looks. And that is just really, really massive improvement and completely a game changer here. The other thing that is going to be a major result of the change of the lenses from the birdbath approach on the ones versus the completely flat approach of the One Pros is when you are wearing the ones, and if you use these at all out anywhere there is light, especially if you're wearing a white shirt, you're going to notice you get a lot of glare. Even as I'm sitting here, now granted I have studio lighting on in front of me, but I can see the reflection of the table here in front of me on the bottoms of the lenses, and it is rather distracting. Now, if I take those off and I put on the One Pros, I don't see the desk at all. It's simply not there. I mean, it's there. I can see it if I look down and glance down at my eyes, but I don't see the reflection there anymore. The only reflection that I see, or not reflection rather, but the only light that I see is the bottoms of the prisms, and I imagine when I turn that on, that is going to go away. Now, before we get to that point of turning them on, they are very comfortable. I really should have weighed them, but I'm sure that the specs are out there of the weight difference between these. They feel lighter, they feel much more comfortable on my head, and quite frankly, not bad as a pair of sunglasses. I did not enjoy wearing the ones as a pair of sunglasses. I maybe could see myself wearing these as a pair of sunglasses, although I generally like my sunglasses to be the wraparound style, and I don't like light bleeding in, so that wouldn't work as much for me. All right, let's continue going over the settings. First thing that you'll notice right here is the, let me see if I can get it in real tight on my camera. Let's see here. We focused on that? If not, I'll grab some B-roll. It says Bose, right? It says powered by Bose. You know what it doesn't say on my ones that it was supposed to? It doesn't say powered by Bose. It's simply not there. It just says XREAL One over on this side. This side doesn't have powered by Bose. I don't know why. Maybe it was an early unit that I got. Maybe not. Maybe they just didn't put them on these in the end, even though it was supposed to be and is, as far as I understand, powered by Bose. Same speaker set. This one says it. So it is there. For anybody who was asking me on the Reddit, it is definitely there. Other than that, they are very similar. You've got the downward firing speakers on the sides over here, and you have the input for the USB on the same left side temple spot. I don't know what that's really called in glasses nomenclature, but the back of the part that goes behind your ear, I suppose. Also, similar to, or even rather identical to the ones, you've got your button array on the side here. So you've got the red button. Let me do it this way. You've got the red button on the bottom here, and then you've got your volume rocker, and then on top you've got this additional button over here. Man, I am getting these dirty. Look at the overall size difference between the two of these. This is the ones, this is the One Pros. This is just a much more comfortable pair of glasses to keep in your pocket and to hold, and also makes sense why they went back to the smaller, thinner case with the lip on the bottom, because you don't need as much space in there. Just gonna look at these again side by side here. These are the ones and these are the Pros. Very, very sleek. Side by side, these are the ones, these are the One Pros, these are the ones. Got to keep these, keep straight, keep track of which ones are which. And of course, from the back, you've got these ones are the pros and these are the ones. And it's really noticeable when you look at the size difference and you look at the lenses on there. This is the bird bath lenses and are massive in comparison next to the new flat squircle-ish lenses. That is very stark difference there and very nice. Again, just looking at these side by side, even from picking them up, the One Pros look so much more like a regular conventional piece of glasses, a more conventional set of glasses, as opposed to the ones which look like a piece of hardware. This looks like a pair of glasses that you would just have laying around. These look like there's some serious tech in them, which on one hand can be a cool look, but on the other hand, aren't we going for the ubiquitous, just blends in with everything look? And that's, I think, what we're getting here. So I'm going to plug them in to my Mac, as that is the way that I use them most, and I have them down in front of me here. And I'm going to try and see afterwards if I can get some B-roll to put in here. Apologies if I don't. So I'm just going to pop this in like so, and they're going to connect to the Mac. Now, I already used the XREAL Beam Pro in order to get these originally set or initially set up and updated with the latest software. And so now I'm plugging it into my Mac for the first time and getting that experience, but I did already go through the walkthrough of the user interface, which, if I remember correctly, was pretty similar to the XREAL ones, but I'll have to go through and factory reset both in order to get that comparison again. Okay, I've plugged them in. I have XREAL in front of me, and straight away I've got, ooh, that is definitely snappier moving around. I've got my image in front of me. Now, again, I will try and get some B-roll of this. Let me just, screen size shows on follow mode, max of 222 inches. Screen distance right now is at 4 meters, maxes out at 10 meters. Or it can be brought all the way into 2 meters, and when I've got follow mode on, I simply cannot see that whole space there. So let me turn anchor mode off, if I can remember how. Okay, now I'm on anchor mode, and looking all around, I can see the screen is out from there to there, and down to there and there, and that is a massive screen, although I don't know why you would do it that way. I'm going to go switch to in the menu, and switch back to the screen distance so that I can actually see it. What I'm actually interested in is switching on ultra wide mode. This is the most realistic test for me because I use ultra wide mode the most. So for that, I'm going to, well, screen distance is irrelevant and screen size is irrelevant also. It's 356 inches, it says, which does feel like more of a screen than on the ones. Oh wow, now it says the screen size is 499 inches. Interesting, I'm not sure why it's saying that, but it is. Turning on reverse menu direction because I do prefer it that way. Reset to factory settings, I could. All right, let's go through the tutorial. Press the X button for next, which is over here. And now it's beginning the tutorial. I don't know where the tutorial is. Oh, there it is. Okay, I had to push a button. So anchor, the screen is fixed in space. Screen calibration, when the screen shifts, long press the X button, which is the red one, to reset it to the field of view. So I will long press it now and calibrate. Screen calibration is done. Next up, double click the X button to open the menu. Okay, double click the X button to exit the menu / return. Brightness and electrochromatic dimming is the volume rocker, what you would generally recognize as a volume rocker. Click to adjust brightness, long form for electrochromatic dimming. Press the X button to continue. Quick button is the one up on top. Click for ultra wide mode, customizable later in the menu. Click the X button to continue, and I've completed the tutorial. I'm going to hit X in order to exit the tutorial. All right, now I've got full electrochromatic dimming on. I am switching to ultra wide mode because this is how I use it all the time. So this will be my first best initial feel of how this looks. So now what I'm going to do is what I normally do. I'm going to arrange my computer monitors here And XREAL One shows a 3840 by 1080 resolution. Color profile is X1 Pro. So now I'm going to take my browser window and bring it up here. Very nice. And I'm going to take another browser window and bring it up next to it on the other side. And all right, so there is a wider field of view on this for sure, but it's not massive. And because it is still 1080, I can still see pixelation, especially when looking at white backgrounds with text or moving around slightly. But these feel much more premium and rock solid. There's a little bit of blurring that goes on as I move my head quickly, but if I'm just sitting here and moving around slightly, it's not as noticeable. One other thing I forgot to mention is that you can adjust the angle on these, which I do usually do. I'll go the other direction actually. And then readjust it to where I want the screen to show up. Here we go. Okay. The other thing that I like to do when I'm on here is editing in Final Cut Pro, which I'm going to open now. And I'm going to throw it up on the screen here in full widescreen. And oh, that is so nice for editing. For anybody who's a video editor, this is the way to go. You've got your video tiles on this side, you've got your timeline in the middle here across the entire thing, and you've got your display of what you're editing directly in front of you. And it's very similar to using an ultra-wide display, similar to my Samsung Odyssey G9, etc. And then, of course, I can run the audio through the headset. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Let's do some music through it and see how that sounds. It's a little bit tinny, but not anything worse than I would expect from a headset like this. It does sound good. The Bose speakers do sound good. Again, it's not going to rival anything that I would get out of speakers on my desk, for example. I'm a big Rush fan, so let's put on some Rush and see what we get. Here we go, Working Man. Now that sounds good. Now again, it is downward firing speakers, so you are going to hear that sound as well as the sound in the room around you. That is very enjoyable. It is a little bit tinny. You can hear a little bit of the tinniness when you're listening to the drum tracks. A little bit of hi-hat action going on there. One problem with listening to music like this is when you start rocking your head, the screen disappears because I have it anchored in place, and looking around, obviously it changes. But if I'm rocking my head while I'm working, then it disappears into the darkness because I'm rocking my head. So don't rock your head too much. There's definitely a little bit of ghosting going on here. Again, these are 120 hertz, so it really doesn't look bad. If you move your head really fast, then the text that you're moving away from definitely blurs as you move your head around. But it very quickly comes into focus. It's almost not even noticeable, especially on the especially in the ultra wide mode. Oh, wow. Okay, now there is a big difference between the field of view. It feels much wider with the extra field of view that is on the One Pros. I have just been switching them back and forth, trying to see what that looks like, and I can tell that there is significantly more that I can see on the screen here with the Pros than I can with just the ones. That definitely makes it feel like much more of a natural experience as far as the ultra widescreen goes. I'm sure I'm confusing the hell out of my computer by switching it back and forth like this. The other thing that I will note is the One Pros, I feel a lot less strain on my eyes trying to read text and use this for work in the ultra widescreen mode. The field of view that are on these is much more natural and pretty much the edge of what you would see when sitting and looking ahead with your eyes darting around the screen. Now, granted, with an ultra wide screen, you would normally be able to see a bit more out there than you can wearing these. That being said, it is a huge improvement over the ones. One other thing I'd like to note is that I do on the sides see it's a little bit more pronounced of the screen coming in from the sides than it is on the ones. And and I don't know what is causing this here, but it does on the very, very edges. When I look with my eyes from one side to the other, I can see a little bit of like a blue outline on the edge, kind of like the old 3D glasses that we used to wear in theaters. You know what I'm talking about. But that's being super hypercritical and not how you are going to use these on the regular basis. Also, it's up against a solid white background of a Google Doc text, and it's only on the very far border of the screen over here. Yeah, it's only on the very far edge of the field of view, and it's only with white. I'm not seeing it with other colors. The stark white is what looks to be causing that. All right, enough with the computer. Let's go over to the Beam Pro and plug them in. And it's actually very impressive. The electrochromatic dimming, one of the questions that I've been asked is how good is it? This is a very bright studio light in front of me, as you can see. If I were to turn it off, it got pretty dark in here. I almost can't even see that this is bright at all when looking through these with the electrochromatic dimming on, so I'm pretty happy there. All right, I just plugged these into the Beam Pro, and it decided now was the time to begin updating them, so that while that's happening, let's answer some of the questions from the community. I cannot address any of the questions around prescription lenses because I don't wear prescription lenses, so I can't tell you what that would feel like compared to the ones. What I will tell you is that because you have such a significant difference in distance there, I would imagine that you have a much greater ability to be closer to the lenses. I'm actually going to pull out the XREAL One box and see. This doesn't even have the lens inserts in here, so I actually don't know how. Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea how the lens inserts work for the XREAL Ones, but the lens inserts on these is this little attachment here, and it appears to have mounting points. Ew, God damn, that's clever. Okay, so I'm just figuring this out on the fly because, like I said, I don't wear glasses. But if you do wear glasses and you've used these before, you'll notice that up top here, there's two little attachment points for the lenses, and that is where they clip into the frame. Those are, again, much further forward on these because these are much further forward, and they are located right over here on each side. Let's see if I can show you that there. Here and here on each side. On the One Pros, they are located in the same spot, but again, it has much further distance to go. They're located just right over at the edge of the frame on each of these, and they will sit, if I am doing this correctly. Yeah, so if I position these correctly, they're going to sit just up against the lenses like that. Up against the prisms, or not prisms, whatever these things are called, like that, and they actually have little bumpers on them to make sure that they don't scratch these. But that looks like a very nice tight fit, tight fit overall. All right, now that I played around with it for a while, let's get into some of the questions from the community here. The lenses, we already answered. Electrochromatic dimming. So there's 3 different levels of electrochromatic dimming. You've got transparent, you've got transparent is totally off, then you've got 1, 2, and 3 levels of how dim you want it. I generally tend to keep it always on the darkest because I primarily use it for work and I want to have my screen be as bright as possible. Another reason why I upgraded to these over the ones is because they do have a brighter screen and it is definitely noticeable. I don't know if it's an improvement over, say, the Air 2, for example, that uses physical blackout covers. I would like to see maybe something 3D printed that just attaches to the replaceable frames, which do pop off, as we showed earlier in the video here. If maybe we could get something that is either 3D printed or the community prints to build a complete blackout across it, which I think would also be pretty cool, because then you might get a even better picture when you are looking at something that is totally blacked out. That could be an interesting experiment. If you do see anything like that out there, let me know. I'd love to pick that up and try it out. What is the visual clarity like and where is the sweet spot? So honestly, when I was wearing these, I did notice a increase in visual clarity across the entire screen over the ones. It seemed much less of a strain on my eyes to stay focused on the content in front of me. Is it as good as I would see on my MacBook Pro screen or my MacBook Air screen in front of me that I'm using here? No, but that's not where the tech is at yet. Are we going to get 2K and 4K screens in here at some point? Yes, but I think that's cost and weight and heat, which are three things that Ralph has mentioned in the interview that I did with him. Link at the end of this video, of course, and I mentioned it a couple of times throughout here, and he does touch upon whether or not they're going to get there and when. I look forward to that day because I do like using these for big, bold, beautiful screens, and it is going to be much easier for me to work with text on the screen for long periods of time without seeing little bits of blurriness or without seeing the individual pixels there. Alternatively, I guess they could keep it at 1080 and continue to ramp up the pixels per inch, or the PPI, which is similar to what happened with all of our phones, until it got to the point where you really just don't even notice. Continuing on that, how are they for tasks like coding or for work? I think I basically answered that already. Essentially, when you're doing a desktop work, ultra wide view I think is going to be the best way to utilize this, because you are able to have multiple browser windows open in space in front of you. And as I have been using the ones for this exact workflow, it is fantastic for doing that, whether you're on a plane or you are on a or sitting in a waiting room somewhere, which is how I have been using these pretty extensively. How comfortable are they for extended wear? Well, for somebody who doesn't generally wear glasses, I only wear sunglasses when I go out. My sunglasses are significantly lighter than these. I do appreciate the weight difference between these, with the One Pros being lighter. That being said, even after a while, it does start to get a little heavy on the bridge of my nose, as I'm not as accustomed to doing that. As I get to wear them more and more, and as these get lighter and lighter, that is going to continue to shift, and these are very comfortable. Also, it helps to play around with the nose pads and see whether you need the larger ones or the smaller ones in order to be most comfortable, and also where you place it on your face. All right, all in all, that has been my first look and initial review of the XREAL One Pro glasses. I think these are going to be a hit as soon as they can manage to ship them all. There is an update on the shipping. Go and check it out on XREAL's Reddit. They actually have a spreadsheet with different zones and what is going on with that. They're trying to be as transparent as possible because there have been some bumps in the road in getting these things out, given that we were supposed to have these, well, gee, I don't know, months ago. So thank you very much to XREAL for being transparent on that and helping out. Let me know questions and comments you have down below. I do try to read every single one of my comments and answer as many as I can. I will also be doing a follow-up review on these when I've had more of an opportunity to continue testing these out, using them in different environments and using them for longer periods of time. As it is right now, I am very much enjoying these, very happy with these. I also, as mentioned, have the eye, which goes in the middle here. So my video on that whole review on that experience, what it can be used for, whether or not you can use it for pass-through, or if you can use it for other applications like Gemini Live, for example, or ChatGPT Vision Mode, whatever they call it. All of those things I'm going to be testing in that video. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel so that you will be able to see those when they pop up. As always, thanks for watching.